show you this live video out of Kisumu, where there is protesters and police doing battle right now, right before our eyes on live television. Let's look at this right now and see. This is in the Kondele area, the epicenter of protests. Whenever there is something happening, this is where it begins. A road barricaded, police trying to clear that area. This is, I believe, the road leading into Manyata and Car Wash. That's just out of the Kondele area. The tear gas has been lobbed in the air, and I think somebody's trying to clear the air. This is a road that's leading into a very populous area of the city, and Manyata is, in some bits of it, is an informal settlement. There's also Car Wash and Mamboleo, if you want to use that area as well. So that's what we're looking at right now. Police trying to clear that road. I've got NTV's Dennis Okari on phone back with me again. Dennis, what exactly has happened in the last few minutes? We're looking at this live video out of Kisumu one more time. I'm speaking to Dennis Okari, who is joining me and who's been watching the scene all morning. What has happened? Because police appear to have pushed back the protesters and the youth that had barricaded that road.
Yes, Larry. The situation is changing so quickly. Like I said, it's very unpredictable here. It's been very tense for the last couple of hours, where protesters are throwing stones, chanting no elections, and the police is trying to basically keep them off. So what you're seeing right now, we're trying to retreat back because the numbers are swelling up. They're throwing many stones towards the police officers and broken bottles. And so there's the push, and they're trying to push them back, but then they keep resisting and then coming forward, and they're very resilient. You can see from the pictures there, they're still throwing stones at the police officers. They're trying to gain access to the CBD, and the police are basically trying to stop them from making their way into the CBD. They've been warned that they should keep off the streets. The police have warned them to stay in their homes, but many of them are still coming out. There's been gunfire for the last couple of minutes. A lot of tear gas being thrown into the air just to keep them off. And so what we are doing right now is we are trying to retreat back, and basically what the police are going to attempt to do is plan on how to move in through the other routes, because there's several ways coming to the CBD. We are still here at Kondele, and unfortunately, from the reports that we are getting, this is not just happening here in Kondele. This is where we are at the moment, but this is also happening elsewhere, as police have been deployed in several parts to try and put out fires, try to remove the blocks and the tree stumps from the roads. We earlier spoke to the returning officer of Kisumu, and what we got from him is that voting materials are still at the tallying center. Unfortunately, they have not been able to move any materials to the polling stations. Remember, there are 196 polling stations here in Kisumu Central Constituency, but none have received voting materials up to this moment. So they're still waiting to get clearance because the security situation is still very tense, Larry. So they're not able to get anybody who can, guarantee their safety as they move these materials to the polling stations. Many of them obviously have been closed. Access to those stations have been barricaded by the protesters. So this looks like it's going to go on for the next couple of hours. Chances are it may not happen. So from the 196 polling stations in Kisumu Central, nothing is going on. They have not received any voting materials. And this is the kind of situation that we've been seeing for over 2 hours now. Those are gunshots, and what we're seeing is protesters trying to make their way coming into the CBD, but being stopped by the police officers, and at the same time being told and requested to stay in their homes, to stay away from the roads. Their shops all the way down Kondele Street, they have been closed. There's no business that is going on at this particular moment, Larry.
Tonea, what a situation that is changing there so quickly, like you mentioned, Dennis. The protesters, well, maybe they're not protesters, but the youth are very confident to throw stones and to try and antagonize the police from that close range, despite the risk to them, which is remarkable, isn't it?
It is very remarkable, right, Larry, and this is the resilience that they have, the audacity to try and, provoke the police officers is just something else, because we saw the police who are holding fort and standing on their positions, just trying to prevent anything from happening and any access to the CBD. But we kept seeing these huge crowds still trying to push and make their way with slings and stones. They are throwing stones right there, and so. This is the resilience we're talking about, and they're turning out to be very violent, and the police are trying to push them back. But there is, like I said earlier, there is pushing them back, and then they keep pushing the police back as well. So on this main street, this is where all this is happening, and they are young men. You can clearly see that they're very, very young men. Many of the young men who have turned out, and chance of no elections. They are basically trying to provoke the police by saying that they should bring out the RPGs. There are all these chants and slogans that they are using, and the police are just trying to be trying to quell the situation, trying to handle the situation. We don't know for how long this will go on. I said earlier on that the only vehicles that are allowed to go into the street are the ambulances that have been picking perhaps those who have been injured and taking them to hospital. Anyone else is not allowed any access. They're not very friendly to the media as well, so we are trying to keep our distance as well and try to be safe, Larry.
How much longer can they keep this up, Dennis? This kind of battle with the police to make sure that people are not barricading the roads and trying to disrupt travel, because that makes sure that even ballot materials cannot get to the polling centers where they need to get to.
Yes, it's true, Larry. By the look of things, we do expect that this will go on across the day. Remember, when the protests were being called by the NASA leadership, they've been coming out. This street is very, very popular with these kind of scenes that we're witnessing today. So their resilience in trying to pull this off for hours, that is what we honestly do expect. However, whether this will go on late into the evening, we are not too sure what security plans are there. But yesterday, the Nyanza Regional Commissioner, Wilson Njega, spoke and said that they have enough security officers who have been sent to the different parts where to what they're calling their hotspots. And they do expect that this was going to happen. However, this morning, they didn't show up. The police didn't show up very early in the morning to this particular spot, so they were able to put all these stones, the tree stumps, barricades, and setting tires on fire, which the police have been trying to put out, and also trying to remove these blocks from the road so that people can move in and gain access, and also for the voting materials to also go in. But the returning officer has said he's not able to do anything. The voting materials are still at the center. So, Larry, we do expect that this perhaps is going to go on for the next couple of hours.
It's a very, very dicey situation that Dennis is at right now. It's at the epicenter of the protests in Kisumu, in Kondele. Some of the bravest youth there basically staring down the police. I'm trying to make sure that Dennis is safe and the police are moving back, even though they're trying to repulse the police officers. And we're looking at that live video right now. And Dennis and our cameraman, they're trained for this kind of situation. But for anybody in Kisumu who's watching this, Dennis, who's not trained to handle this kind of situation, would you advise them to be out on the streets, or would you tell them to stay at home?
Dicey, like you earlier on said, the situation is very, very dicey. Obviously, no one should come out at this particular point because it's very, very unpredictable. At one point, they were just chanting slogans, they were just shouting, and obviously you expect this kind of thing in any protest, but no one expected that they will just start throwing stones and throwing bottles and throwing all manner of things at the police officers. So we keep seeing this kind of thing. It's very, very unpredictable. At one point, there's gunfire, there's throwing of tear gas. They are also throwing tear gas back at the police officers, which tells you that they clearly have the tear gas canisters themselves. So I can't honestly, in my opinion, advise anyone to come out because the situation is very, very, very dicey.
Watching this situation in Kisumu, which is unprecedented. It's the first time that a presidential election is being repeated and also being contested and being boycotted by the opposition. And Kisumu appears to be one of the centers of this protest right now. Dennis and our team there trying to stay safe while also remaining on the air, remaining live and giving us a sense of what is happening. And we're trying to make sure that we're giving you some context to the live video we're looking at. We're trying to make sure that our people are safe, but also not staying too far away from the actions. It's all of those different considerations at the same time. That is why the shot is shaky, and I think it's Eric is sent on that camera. He's a total professional, he's truly one of the best we've got in the business. And is it possible, Dennis, that these people might be cited for civil disobedience? Might they be arrested for trying to commit an election offense?
Yes, we've had reports that this is from again, the Nyanza Regional Commissioner, who yesterday was very, very categorical, and he said that they're trying to make sure that there is enough security for those who want to come out and vote, also enough security for the IEBC officials who are transporting these voting materials to the different polling centers. And he did assure residents of their safety. However, he did also caution the protesters that if they indeed are planning to come out to disrupt this whole election process, they will be arrested. That was a guarantee from the Nyanza Regional Commissioner Wilson Jega, who said they will arrest any protester who comes out to try and stop this process. So far, for the last 3 or so hours, we haven't seen anyone arrested, but we have seen truckloads of police officers, and the trucks are already here. But what they're doing right now is basically trying to push those who are, you can see from the pictures there, with slings and stones and bottles, throwing them at the police officers. So it's trying to push them back as much as possible so that they don't access the CBD. But moving in now to make the arrest, that hasn't started yet. We haven't seen any single person who's been arrested so far from Kondele area. We do expect, however, this to happen sometime later in the afternoon. What the police are also doing, this is one of the tactics as well, is also trying to position themselves in a manner in which they will just watch them until they get tired of throwing the stones. But this is not the likely situation. We're not seeing them getting tired. They're getting even more resilient. So we do expect, obviously, there will be arrests and any other incidents that will precede this will definitely be here to cover all that. But there's an assurance that they will be arrested, and we do expect indeed that there are people who are going to be arrested today, Larry.
Dennis, stand by. We'll come back to you in a moment. You're looking at a snapshot of the country right now. In some parts of the country, peaceful voting. In other parts, battles on the street with the police and protesters, barricading roads, burning tires, fires. There's a dog hanging from a primary school, the gate of a primary school where I went to primary school in Siaya County.